How's it going, everybody? And welcome to today's deep dive. Now, it's no secret that not all of these magazines are going to be in perfect condition, considering that, at the oldest, some of them are around 30 years old. Some of them have like a couple of rips in the pages here and there, and some of them have several pages missing from when I would rip them out to put them on my wall. I tried to adorn my wall in college, like an idiot, not realizing that physical media would one day become a thing of the past. But just so you know, this one happens to be the worst of all in terms of condition. The back cover is ripped off, and I'd say just about half of the book is gone. And I don't know what happened to it. I do remember putting a picture of Francis Benfato here on my wall. I always had an appreciation for smaller, aesthetic bodybuilders who were great posers, and that's Francis Benfato. Guys that would present their physiques in a real classy manner. So I remember putting one of his pictures on the wall, and I took it directly from this book. But I don't know how half the book got destroyed. I don't remember. And although I'm mad at myself for letting that happen, or for taking anything out of this book, I praise my younger self for keeping what was left of it. Because after destroying it, or almost destroying it, I think most people would have just chucked what was ever left, just chuck it, but I kept what was left. So I appreciate myself for doing that. Because as you can see, this is a classic from August 1992. $3.95. Those prices just blow my mind. You can't even get like a pack of chicken at the grocery store for $3.95 in this day and age. It's prices are just crazy. So just to think, to get this popular magazine, and these magazines were popular at the time. It was only $3.95, and that's, inflation is a monster. So anyway, let's open it up. This is one of the older ones. My oldest magazine is from 1990. I wish I had older ones, but I didn't really start buying them until around 1990. I mean, I would have loved to have had stuff from the 80s, but in the 80s I was a kid, and I didn't have my own money. I wouldn't have been able to afford it. But by the early 90s, I was in my late teens, and I was able to get a job and buy my own stuff. So, Rich Gaspari. Was always a big fan of Rich. Did I see something with the principles here? Okay. So, yep. Coors Light. Thinking back, that's a weird advertisement for a fitness magazine. I don't see how, alcohol literally kills muscle cells and blocks the absorption of B vitamins. It lowers your testosterone. Like, why the hell would you have an advertisement for beer in a fitness magazine? Linda Murray looks kind of masculine in this picture. She usually didn't look masculine, but she looks masculine in this picture. That's Vince Taylor. I don't know who these people are. I do remember this. I do remember this magazine. Look at this. That's Lee Haney. That looks like Lee Labrada. I remember seeing a friend of mine. Oh, that's Bob Paris. That looks like Robbie Robinson. A friend of mine whose father was into bodybuilding let me borrow a VHS tape back in the early 90s. It was called Totally Awesome Lee Haney something. It was about Lee Haney. And I remember he told a bold-faced lie in the beginning of the video. I'm sure he had to. He didn't have a choice. But he says, "This is Lee Haney, eight-time Mr. Olympia winner, and My physique wasn't built with the use of anabolic, you know what, anabolic assistance. That's not what he said, though. He used the S word that I think you're not allowed to say on YouTube. Um, he said, and he goes, instead, and then he holds up a container of Joe Weider's Dynamic Muscle Builder. He says, instead, I used Joe Weider's Dynamic Muscle Builder. Now, the funny thing is, back then, I was still innocent. You know, like nowadays, everybody knows that these guys use anabolic assistance. But back then, we didn't know. You know, I didn't really know about anabolic assistance until around 1990, 1992, 1993. So around around the time this magazine came out, I was just catching on to the fact that bodybuilding was a drug-fueled sport. You know, nowadays it's common knowledge. So we were innocent, man. You know, we were naive. But yeah, I in the late '80s and all that time when I was watching bodybuilding, I thought those guys were training naturally. You know, this is before the internet. You know, so you know, what are you gonna do? Yep. Ignorance is bliss. There's this sports fitness hotline. Ripped mass. You know, I don't know if Joe Weider completely created the Weider principles. I heard he did, obviously. That's what we were all taught. But I heard that he didn't create it. That there was other input from other people. You never know. I wasn't there, so be it. But even though I don't believe in training like a bodybuilder anymore, I still think that those Weider principles are very useful. I mean, I use them all the time with clients, of course, with myself. I love the rest pause technique, drop sets, descending sets, and I absolutely love pre and post exhaustion. I still use pre and post exhaustion. You know, the problem that I have with training like a bodybuilder is something that people don't tell you is that your joints deteriorate. You know, your intervertebral discs in your back, they compress regardless, no matter what you do. Okay, you could, no matter what your lifestyle, no matter how active you are, your intervertebral disc will start to compress at some point. You know, which means that you won't have the same shock absorption that you had when you were younger. Your joints start to deteriorate. You know, so what do you think is going to happen? You know, if you're doing 30 sets for chest, and 30 sets for shoulders, and you know 30 sets for legs, because that's bodybuilding, man. It's volume. It's hitting every muscle from every angle to engorge the muscle with as much blood as humanly possible. It's single joint movements, it's double joint movements. It's a lot of volume. And if you really want to be a bodybuilder, you have to hit those muscles in a multitude of different ways. And unfortunately, the downside to that is faster joint deterioration. So that's why I really do like to teach functional strength and mobility training, instead of bodybuilding. And you guys need to be careful about who you listen to. I saw I'm not going to say the name. It's not that I even remember the freaking name anyway, but I saw a video come up, and I didn't look at it, but it said gain a massive chest with only 4 exercises. And I just think that's just really stupid, because for one thing, it's bullshit. It's not going to work for everybody unless you have the genetics. That's number one. And number two, just constantly talking about massive chests and all of it, and they're still perpetuating this ignorance. So I'm just warning you guys, man. your fucking joints are going to start to hurt at some point. There's no doubt about it. All right. And if you're doing all of this stuff on Muhammad, is that Muhammad bin Aziza? He was a beast. If you're doing all of this stuff, the way that these guys are doing it with all the volume, the multitudes of sets, the multitude of different exercises, you're just gonna make it happen faster. You're gonna precipitate that joint deterioration. So be careful about who you listen to, because there's a lot of, I want to say bullshitters. I mean, I think some of them are bullshitters, but a lot of them are just ignorant and they just don't know any better. But, you just don't completely focus on size. And if you have the genetics for this, I mean, you won't have to focus on it anyway. You can focus on functional strength and mobility, and you'll still be able to put on a little bit of size. If you don't have the genetics, if you really want to get bigger, well, you're going to have to train like a bodybuilder. You're going to have to go for volume. You are going to have to lift heavy at points, but also you're going to want to cycle between heavy, light, and moderate lifting. You don't want to train heavy all the time, but if you're hell bent on getting bigger, then you're going to have to look towards some of the bodybuilding principles. But consider yourself warned, man, because as you get older, it's gonna catch up with you. And I hate that the fitness industry only focuses on this tiny little piece of the pie. Bodybuilding is a tiny little piece of the pie. There's a lot more that you can accomplish with strength training that never gets talked about. So when you see one of these YouTubers, every freaking thing they talk about is getting bigger, getting more jacked, getting more lean, blah, 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 blah. They either don't know shit or they're just BSing you. They're trying to get the clicks because they know that's what people want, But if you guys learn to want something more sensible, they'll try to sell you something more sensible. And what is more sensible is using weights for health and longevity, so you can be strong and able to take care of your own ass when you're 80. And when I say ass, I mean that literally, because they're people, I know, I work with seniors. I know what I'm talking about. I had a very successful class at a senior fellowship program that I taught twice a week, and I'd still be teaching it, if the lady who ran it wasn't batshit crazy. I mean, literally, she was nuts, literally. But they never. Well, that's another story. But I'd still be teaching it if it weren't for her. But I know seniors that can't even wipe their own asses. Do you want somebody to have to wipe your ass for you? When that would be humiliating. So think of weights as a means of warding that off. And if you're strictly training as a bodybuilder, man, that's not going to happen. You're guaranteeing that someday you won't be able to wipe your own ass, or you'll be on a walker like Ronnie Coleman. No disrespect to him. I don't mean to put him down. I mean, he gave his heart and soul to that sport, man. He, but I don't know too many people that train harder than him. He really trained hard, but you see what happens. What happened? Because he shouldn't be on a walker, and not at 60. But but I like to tell the truth. What is this? Okay, pumping pedals. Oh yeah, look at this. Man, this is Nasser El Somebody, and he ended up getting way bigger than this eventually. Look at this. This is from 1992. And, he was a fixture in bodybuilding in the late 90s and in the early 2000s. And so you look at this. So he put on a lot of size eventually. Man. Look, yeah. That doesn't even look like the same guy, man. That's Nasser El Somebody. Yep. Some say that he should have beat Dorian one year. Or was it Ronnie Coleman? Or I can't remember. You know, I'm going to lean toward Dorian. Some say that he could have won, but you know how those competitions are, man. You know, it's very rare that there's a real clear winner. I remember this guy. That's Dennis Alexia, I think. Yeah, Dennis Alexio. Yeah. It's not every day that there's a clear winner. Franco, Arnold, and that's Lou. And I don't know who this guy is, man. Off the top of my head. Yep. Paul DeLay. Food for thought. I think I'm coming toward the end of this. But yeah, this would be a pretty long video under normal circumstances if I didn't lose like damn near half of it. This guy looks familiar, but I can't recall his name. Is that Dorian? That's Dorian. Yeah. Yeah, Dorian took over in 1992, so it makes sense that he'd be in the magazine. And Francis Benfato was on the cover, and you notice you haven't seen him yet. That's because he ended up on my wall, Lilo Brada. And when you know, yeah, I really should not have done that, but you know, you live and you learn. But yeah, man, the Weider principles are very useful. Whether you train like a bodybuilder or not, you know, you can use those Weider principles to your advantage. No matter, I mean, shit, I use them with seniors, man. We do drop sets. We do rest pause. We do pre and post exhaustion. You don't pre-exhaustion. Use this Weider principle to order your exercises and take a quantum leap in intensity. Yeah, pre-exhaustion is really a great technique. I remember this picture. And this is the end because, you know, and I just taped this one page back, but I was an idiot, man. I still kind of hate myself for destroying this book, but at least I didn't chuck the whole thing. So I hope you guys got something out of this. I have much more to come. I have a one from 91. I already told you that, I think. 91, 95, 97, 98, 96. I still have plenty to go from the 90s and a bunch from the early 2000s. Bodybuilding maybe wasn't great in the early 2000s, but it was tolerable, you know. So, all right, I'd like to thank you guys for watching another video from PLA Mind and Body Works. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, you know, if you liked it, you know. And I'll be back soon with another video and more information on the fitness industry, personal training, and strength training in general. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.